What if I told you the United States just threatened to invade a NATO ally? Not Russia, not China, Denmark. January 2026, Trump says he's taking Greenland, whether they like it or not. Why? What's really underneath the ice? 1.5 million tons of minerals. China controls 69%, and America just offered every Greenlander $100,000 to look the other way. NATO is fracturing. Europe is preparing military responses against America. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is happening right now. The Arctic war nobody's talking about, the minerals that run your world, and the 57,000 people caught in the middle. This is Greenland. January 10th, 2026, Greenland's leaders issued a joint statement. We don't want to be Americans. They had to say that out loud because the President of the United States just told the world he's taking Greenland, whether they like it or not. You think this is about ice, melting glaciers, polar bears. It's not. This is about what's under the ice. 1.5 million metric tons of rare earth elements, minerals that run your phone, your car, your military. And right now, China controls 69% of the world's supply. That terrifies Washington. The official story is simple. Greenland sits between North America and Europe. It controls the Geopolitical Gap, a naval choke point. Russian submarines, Chinese warships, Arctic shipping routes opening as the ice melts. Trump says it's about national security. He called it an absolute necessity, said Russia or China would take over if America doesn't act first. The U.S. already has Patufic Space Base there, radar systems, missile tracking. It's been operating since 1951. But here's what they don't say on TV. The base is already enough. A lease works. Full ownership? That's about something else. January 2026, White House officials float an idea. Pay every Greenlander $100,000. That's $5.7 billion total for 57,000 people. They called it a compact of free association, a buyout, not of the land, of the people's consent. Denmark's prime minister responded immediately. This could end NATO, an American threat against an American ally. Trump doubled down. We'll do it the easy way or the hard way. Nobody asks what the hard way meant. So why now? Why Greenland? Why risk NATO over a frozen island with 57,000 people and no military? Because underneath Greenland's ice, there's a deposit called Kvanefjeld, 11 million metric tons of rare earth elements, and another called Tanbreez, 28 to 45 million tons, one of the largest underdeveloped deposits on Earth. These aren't just minerals, they're neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, the elements that make electric cars work, wind turbines, fighter jets. And right now, China controls 69% of the world's supply. That terrifies Washington. Greenland's rare earths could meet 25% of global demand, enough to break China's monopoly, enough to power America's military for decades. There's also uranium, zinc, oil and gas, 31 billion barrels estimated. Greenland banned mining it in 2021. The U.S. wants to reverse that. And then there's the Arctic itself. The ice is melting, new shipping routes are opening, 7,000 kilometers shorter than the Suez Canal. Whoever controls Greenland controls the shortcut between Asia and Europe. Trillions of dollars in cargo. Russia knows it. China knows it. In May 2026, a U.S. company, Critical Metals Corp., will open a pilot plant in Greenland, the Tanbreez project. Construction just got approved. They already have deals for 75% of the output before a single gram is mined. This isn't speculation. It's already happening. But there's a problem. Greenland is autonomous, part of Denmark, and Greenlanders, they don't want this. In 2021, Greenland's parliament banned uranium mining, environmental concerns, the Kvanefjeld project, frozen, billions of investment, stopped cold. The U.S. needs those minerals. China's chokehold is tightening, but Greenland has sovereignty, democracy, environmental laws, things you can't just override, unless you just take it. Which brings us back to January 10th, 2026, and what Trump actually said. We're going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. That's a direct quote from the president about a NATO ally. Denmark's been in NATO since 1949, 76 years of alliance, and now the United States is threatening military options against Denmark. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed it. Military options are always an option. He's scheduled to meet Danish officials next week. European allies responded immediately. UK, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, joint statement defending Denmark's sovereignty. France floated the idea of European military response to defend Denmark from America. That sentence shouldn't exist, but here we are. NATO could fracture, the alliance that won the Cold War, torn apart over frozen tundra and rare earth deposits. Russia is watching. China is watching. If America can threaten an ally of 76 years over resources, what does that signal to the rest of the world? Analysts are calling it global chaos, an Arctic arms race, territorial grabs becoming acceptable again, the rules-based order unraveling. But let's zoom in, because geopolitics is abstract. The damage, that's human. Let's talk about the 57,000 people nobody's asking. Greenland's economy runs on fishing and Danish subsidies, $600 million a year from Copenhagen. That's their lifeline. If the US takes over, that subsidy disappears. Denmark has no reason to keep paying. Greenland's budget, gone, overnight. The $100,000 per person sounds generous, but for most Greenlanders, it's a one-time payment in exchange for permanent control of their homeland. Greenland's been fighting for independence from Denmark for decades. They want self-determination, not to become America's 51st state. Their labor union chair said it plainly, Greenland is not for sale and will not be annexed. Every major political party agreed, unanimous rejection. But here's the brutal truth. What Greenlanders want doesn't matter if the US decides to act. 57,000 people can't stop a superpower. And then there's the environment. Greenland banned uranium mining to protect their land, fishing waters, traditional ways of life. US control means mining restarts. Kvanefjeld opens. 11 million tons of ore containing radioactive uranium right next to fishing communities. Climate change is already accelerating there. Ice melting faster than anywhere on Earth. Mining would pour fuel on that fire. Experts say full-scale mining would take 10 to 15 years, billions in infrastructure, harsh Arctic conditions, but the US doesn't need it to be easy. It just needs China to not have it. That's the calculation. Deny Beijing access to rare earths, even if it destroys Greenland in the process. And there's a darker precedent here. The US has tried this before. In 1946, they offered Denmark $100 million for Greenland. Denmark refused. In the 1950s, the US military forcibly relocated Greenlanders from Thule to build the airbase. Families torn from their homes, no compensation for decades. Greenlanders remember, this isn't theoretical to them, it's history repeating, and this time, the stakes are exponentially higher. So what happens next? As of January 11, 2026, nobody knows. Rubio meets Danish officials soon, negotiations or ultimatums. But here's the scar you need to carry. This isn't about Greenland anymore. It's about what powerful countries do when they need something. Democracy, sovereignty, environmental protection, international law. All of that becomes negotiable when rare earth elements are involved. China built its empire on controlling minerals. Now America wants to do the same. The difference, China bought theirs. America might just take. The Arctic is warming, ice is melting, and underneath, there's enough wealth to rewrite global power. That's not going to end peacefully. Greenland is just the beginning. There are rare earths in the Amazon, the Congo, the deep ocean floor, and now, precedent is being set. So remember this moment, January 2026, when a superpower looked at an ally's territory and said, I need that more than you deserve it.